video type thing. And today's topic is ninth gen consoles, and well, just that they're a little bit disappointing, a little bit meh, should we say. And when we talk about ninth gen consoles, we are talking about the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X and S, and one possible saving grace would be the Switch 2, which obviously isn't out yet. So I've spoken roughly about this, roughly about the topic in other videos where I just think gaming has sort of gone power hungry rather than filling in and focusing more on the actual, yeah, there it is, on the actual player and the games themselves. It's the whole gaming industry has just turned into a mass money making chucking out, and it's forgotten its roots. It's for entertainment. It's for giving you that escapism. And all right, games still do that, I suppose. But it's just an increase in power every single time. And yes, I have already spoken about this in other videos. But I think it's more prominent in the latest generation of consoles. So that includes the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, including the S. We have yet to see the Switch 2, so I'm not going to lump that in with the ninth gen consoles are boring kind of tagline of this video. But what has the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X brought to gaming that isn't anything different than just a speed bump, a graphics bump, and a frame per second bump? Well, personally, nothing, I don't think. I've not had much experience with the PlayStation 5, but I've had some experience with the Xbox Series X, and it's a lovely console. It looks great. I mean, it looks aesthetically far nicer than the PlayStation 5. And games I have played on it, or I have seen being played on it, they look absolutely stunning. You can't fault that. Smooth, insane loading times, just absolutely crisp graphics at 60 frames per second, yada yada, all fantastic and all that. But it's still, there's just still games that, well, that is the main focus of them. And where did we? How is that any different to the previous generation of consoles? Exclude the Switch, because the Switch is, well, Nintendo always end up doing their own thing. It's a severely underpowered console compared to the rest in the 8th gen. But as always, Nintendo managed to do something to make everybody forget that. And the Switch is a fantastic console. Prime example of a company that do not focus on wow fab groovy graphics. They concentrate on gameplay. They concentrate on bringing a unique feature to them, and it works. So PS4 and Xbox One, fantastic consoles, did amazing in sales. I'm pretty sure the PS4 did far more than the Xbox One, but the Xbox One was still a great console. Bringing in the backward compatibility with the Xbox Series, and you have, not an Xbox Series, shouldn't use that word, with the Xbox range, and you get a fantastic console. And I know many people who hasn't gone from a PS4 up to a PS5, or gone from an Xbox One to an Xbox Xbox Series X or Series S, and some of that is game exclusivity. There just isn't that many about for the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. I know when Microsoft first introduced the Xbox, they guaranteed a year of crossover games so anything that was released on the Xbox would run on both the One and the X. There are a few games that I know of now that are Xbox Series X exclusive. Mortal Kombat 1 is one of them. And when I say exclusive, they will run on the Series S. That's just Microsoft and their stupid naming scheme. But that's it. There isn't a huge amount of sales, and we are now 4 years into the ninth gen market. There's already rumours of what's coming next, so the PS6 and the Xbox Series XS, if that's what they call it. But really, do we need it? Should we not just concentrate on what we currently have and trying to bring something new to the market rather than just a new game in some regular old franchise that's just been bumped with graphics and speed and I'm kind of repeating myself here, but that is the general gist of how I feel about the ninth gen consoles. I'm going to do something here. Now my son is sitting here. He's got a PS4, and I think I spoke to him before about it. And he's got no interest in a PlayStation 5 other than the new Spider-Man 2 game. But that's not enough to pull him across from his PS4 to a PS5. The same with my daughter. She's got a PS4, very happy with it. There's nothing on the PS5 that really sits there and thinks, oh, I need to have one. And that is a big difference, because when they brought out the PS4, there was so much that they introduced that wasn't on the PS3 that people jumped to the PS4, and it's been a very successful console. It's about 5th or 6th on the best-selling consoles list of all time. So why have you not bought a PS5?
Because there's nothing really there for it.
But doesn't that new, faster, better graphics looking console make you want to buy one?
Okay, yeah, the speed, the loading times, the graphics, they are a big factor, but that's not really enough.
The speed,
It doesn't justify me going out and shelling on a new console.
The speed and loading times could be gotten around on a PS4 by slapping an SSD in.
Yes, so there's that. But I'm not going to go out and shell. How much are they now?
Well, not as expensive as they used to be. 350, 400.
That's a lot of money.
Still,
that's a lot of money for me to play potentially one, maybe two.
And what about all your PS4 games? Can they be pulled across? I think most of them can.
Most of them can.
And most of them will have some kind of little patch that
my
spruces them up.
Favorite games, Minecraft and Skyrim. They've been on the 3 and the 4.
Can't really count Minecraft as a graphics spruce, can you?
Well, let's look at Skyrim then. It was
one of my favourite games.
It was released. When was it released? I think it was on the 3 at some point. It was then ported to the 4, or moved to the 4. And then they're doing it again for the 5.
That's a common thing. Like The Last of Us was remastered on the 4.
Oh, not even remastered. They're just...
It was?
No, I mean Skyrim-wise. It's just...
Well, Last of Us was remastered on the 4, and then they've remastered it on the 5.
Can you remaster a remaster?
I suppose so. They just do
an Uber remaster.
Yeah. And that's a common thing. I think that's where we're getting with games. There are so many games from PS2, PS3 era that are being rejigged onto newer systems. Some of that is because of non-backward compatibility. So you take things like the GTA trilogy, which is from the PS2 era, that's been remastered onto the 4 and the Switch. Then you've got things like The Last of Us that have been generation jumped up. The Switch is a prime example of, because it's a slightly underpowered console, there are a lot of PS3 era games moved to the Switch. The Crisis Trilogy, Bulletstorm, the lot, they're all moved onto the Switch. But we're not talking about the 8th gen, we're talking about 9th gen, and they're still remastering games that are, like you said a minute ago, remasters of remasters, because
What else can they do?
yeah, I think we're just at a point where they churn out games too quickly, then they move on to the next console, and with the exception of maybe Microsoft, drop everybody from before. That is a hot topic with the Switch 2, which will be in the 9th gen category. Will that bring backward compatibility? If it doesn't, it's going to fail. I will go on video and say that now, because Nintendo have got such a huge beast with the Switch that they cannot afford to make another Wii U mistake and completely alienate their user base. But what is the Switch 2 going to bring? That's another thing. I mean, if we're talking about the fact that the Xbox Series X and the PS5 are just speed bumps, Nintendo are renowned for bringing out some kind of unique twist to their consoles. So you've got motion controls with the Wii, gamepad with the Wii U, the hybridness of the Switch. For the Switch 2 to be a successful 9th gen console, it needs to bring something with it than just a speed bump, and that is a bit of a fear in the gaming market at the minute. Is it's just going to be more like a Switch Pro with beefier games, but not bringing anything new. I can't remember the last time that Nintendo brought a console out that didn't have some kind of unique feature. Obviously, you got touch screens on the DS. The Game Boy Advance was probably the prime example of just a speed bump console. The GameCube, its uniqueness was that it looked like a lunchbox and you could carry it around with you. After that, Nintendo went all out with sort of like bottom end hardware, but unique selling points and things like that. So the Switch 2 has got to bring something new with it, otherwise it's going to fall into that same speed bump category of everything else in 9th gen. And like I said, my son's got an Xbox Series X. It's a lovely console. The majority of the games he play will also run on the Xbox One. They may have been tweaked, or they may have had a little Series X boost. I don't really know. Definitely they will benefit from loading times, because I'm pretty sure that Xbox One has a standard hard drive in, and the Xbox Series X has obviously got an SSD, which it drastically increases loading times and just general movement of the console. But bringing out a new console, slapping in an SSD, is that really the only way we can get round and get faster loading times? What has these two new consoles in the 9th gen brought with them that we needed? We could have quite easily extended the Xbox One and the PS4 life. To be fair, neither of those consoles have actually died off. There's still huge PS4 fans out there. Games still being released for the PS4, even though we're 4 years into the PS5 life, and rumours of the PS6 imminent, as early as 2027, with Microsoft hoping to pip Sony by bringing out the next Xbox in the next 18 months. It's a huge, and that screams alarm bells as well, because if they're looking at bringing out the next console way ahead of their sort of 7-year schedule, then they don't have much faith in their current 9th gen consoles. And why don't they? Because the uptake hasn't been that good. We already know that Microsoft are in big trouble. It was doubts on whether they were going to bring out any more hardware at all, or just go down the Sega software route. They've put a squash to that and say that they are bringing out new consoles. We've got an Xbox Series X revision coming out this year. It's going to be a white, all digital. It's a square cube one. I don't know what happened to the round trash can idea. But both Microsoft and Sony are... I'm not going to say they're struggling, because Sony sales for the PS5 are something like 4 times the amount of the Xbox. But neither consoles have just got that pull factor that you saw with previous gens. I mean, you went from PS2 to the PS3, massive leap. Everyone wanted a PS3. Same with the PS4. The PS4 is huge. Released in 2013. We're now in 2014. I think it was released in 2013. But it's well over its 7-year life. We're pushing 9-10 years at least for the PS4, and it doesn't show any signs of stopping. I'm sure that it's slowed down. There are some PS5 owners who think the PS5 is amazing, but I think those are in short supply if you compare that to how the PS4 was doing. So a bit of a ramble video, and like I said, I've probably covered this in previous videos, but what does the PS5 and the Xbox Series X bring to the 9th gen that makes people want to pull towards it? I mean, the Xbox Series S. Now that is a prime example of, it plays the new games, but it has just about as much beef as an Xbox One. So if you're going for an Xbox Series S, it's a budget one. It's a cut down. It's all digital, but you're not jumping a generation because you are interested in the graphics side of it and the beefiness of it, because there is a huge power difference between the Xbox Series X and the Series S. I've seen it firsthand. So there obviously was a market for a console that could play newer games but without the beef, and that's where the Series S sits. But they could have quite easily just carried on making games for the Xbox One, and that's it. And the same with the PS4. There were so many games. I mean, there were a few games that were dubbed PS5 exclusive, and then they backported them to the PS4. That must have pissed a lot of PS5 owners off, because why have I got this new shiny white ugly looking thing that looks like a router, which I paid a lot of money for, and it's way better than a PS4, but you're going to give me the game on a PS4 anyway. So that's the general gist of this video. What has the PS5 and the Xbox Series X brought that was needed? Everybody was comfortable with the Xbox One. Everyone was comfortable with the PS4. People are still comfortable with it. Games are still coming out for it. The 9th gen has just been pushed through because it had to be, because we needed a new generation, not because it brought much to it. I mean, I'm not sitting there and saying that the PS5 or the Xbox Series X are, well, they've not brought anything new, but it's minimal. It's pointless. So it would be interesting to see if the Switch 2 can bring the 9th gen and bring something with it that's different to the current Switch and current whatever consoles are around. So a bit of a ramble video on topics that I've probably covered previously, but let me know what you think. Have you bought a PS5? Have you got an Xbox Series X? Is it way better than the previous gen, or did you just buy it because you're one of these people that likes to buy whatever is the latest? Let me know. Link, like, subscribe, enjoy, and let me try and end it.